Well, Mildred was known in the town as the community gossip and self-appointed arbiter of the town's morals and kept meddling in the community members' private lives. And residents were unappreciative of her activities but feared her enough to maintain their silence. She made a mistake, however, when she accused George, a new resident, of being an over-imbiber after she saw his pickup truck parked in front of the town's only bar one afternoon. She commented to George and others that everyone seeing it there would know exactly what he was doing. So George, a man of few words, stared at her for a moment and just walked away. He didn't explain, defend, or deny. He said nothing. And later that evening, George quietly parked his pickup truck in front of Mildred's house and left it there all night. Don't mess with George, right? So here we are in week 2, exploring this wonderful book, How Then Shall We Live, by minister, therapist, and author Wayne Muller. And we're still delving into that question, that part of the book that asks the question, who am I? It's that fundamental question that we ask on the spiritual journey, isn't it? Because as we ask that question, we're seeking to know the nature of the divine, which is the nature of us. And so if we know who we are, we can know with certainty the direction that is ours to take. I want to repeat that because when that came through, I thought that was pretty powerful. If we know who we are, we can know with certainty the direction that is ours to take. Yeah. So last week, we explored the impact of how we name things. When we think about who we are, we must look at what we've named. And so often when we name things, we tend to look out here to name them, like the roles that we play, the beliefs we hold, the politics we have, the feelings we feel, the judgments we have, and the stories we tell. Our name not only reflects who we are, but it defines who we will become. So what we name is what we will become. What we name is what we will become. Wayne Muller said this: the naming of who we are will set the course of our life, determine what we love, how we live, and what gifts we bring to the family of the earth. He says that the names we give things is a reminder of the essence of what we have named. So, of course, metaphysically, when we talk about name, we mean nature, right? So, what are you naming yourself? Hopefully it's beautiful, magnificent, hot. I don't know. Gorgeous. Did you notice this week what you're naming yourself? As you noticed how you name yourself, did you also notice where that name comes from and the story you tell about it? Because whatever we name, we have a story behind it. And so the opportunity that we have is to look at those stories and go, is that really true? Or am I willing to let go of this story once and for all? Because it no longer serves me. So what are you becoming as a result of what you're naming? What is it that you're putting on your I am? Because, we talk about that in unity. The I am is the ultimate name. And so we can think about and reflect upon what we attach to our I am. Yeah. When you name yourself authentically, you reside in the deepest place of power as you are claiming what you are, and your words and actions reflect that claiming. So this week, we are exploring the influence of community on knowing who we are. So a community is a group of people having a particular characteristic in common, according to the definition on my Siri. Okay. That's my new dictionary. Hey Siri, tell me. Okay. So let's take a moment to reflect on the communities that we're a part of. All right? So a family is a community, right? A school, organizations, your workplace, your spiritual community, your political community, even your government is a community. And Wayne Muller brought this to my attention as well, that there are communities such as poverty, oppression, war, crime, and famine. So how do the communities in which you are a part reflect your true nature or not? You know, I was reflecting on this question for myself, and I remember my family, my birth family, maybe was not exactly the place that I looked to name me as divine, as magnificent, as smart. Yeah. And the church that I grew up in, although it was a wonderful place, you know, I think I've shared with you that, you know, my parents divorced when I was 3, and so it was just my mom and my sister and me. And so our lives became very church-centric. And that was really a blessing for us at the time, except for, you know, sometimes I did not like the multiple sets of extended parents I suddenly had. But they did care about me. It's just that that particular theology didn't quite hold me as divine. And so as I became, you know, older and I started to walk consciously on the spiritual journey, wanting to let go of the past and those limitations, I started to consciously choose communities that would affirm me, that would really see me, that would call me into my greatness. And so I think I've shared with you, I did LifeSpring trainings. I became obviously very involved in Unity. You know, musical experiences that I had, I chose because they called me into my greatness. So this is just an opportunity for us to look at and reflect. What communities are you a part of that really see you, that really call you into the truth of who you are? Because community gets to be a place of empowerment and joy for us. But how many of us in a community have felt like we needed to be something other than who we are to fit in? It wouldn't be safe to be who we truly are. If people knew who we were, they might leave us, not accept us. And when I asked myself that question, the 7th grade was the worst. Middle school, high school, you know, those can be very tough years if you're different in any way. And I see a lot of heads nodding. Yeah, that if you didn't fit in, if you weren't in the popular group, then it didn't feel safe to be who you were. But one of the parts of this chapter that I love that Wayne Muller talks about is how community grows us. So we really don't know where we are in consciousness until it is practiced in connection. Yay. Transformation happens in relationship. You know, we can sit up on the mountain and we can meditate, but when we come down and the first time we're in rush hour traffic, how's it working? You know, so I was thinking about, we can think we've made great headway in the area of patience, and then we have children. We can think we've made great strides in loving unconditionally until someone close to us hurts us. We can imagine world peace until we watch the news. Until someone, a lover or a political leader, triggers an unhealed wound that unleashes our need to be right and to unleash our unexpressed anger. We can think that a unity spiritual community is all love and light. But really what it is, it's a family system. One of the main courses I had in my ministerial training was what a church really is. A church, just like every other community, is a gathering place for people from all walks of life, all levels of consciousness to come together, and we come together, which is a beautiful thing, with the structure of our spiritual teachings as our foundation. Isn't that great? Okay, but this is the thing. I think sometimes we have expectations that spiritual community is nobody's going to tick us off. Nobody's going to disappoint us. The minister's always going to be in a good mood. Yeah, you see? And so then we get really disappointed if someone in spiritual community does something that upsets us. And folks, this is one of my mantras. If we can't work it out in here, where are we going to work it out? So one of the things that really came up for me as I was writing this talk is that if there is anyone in this community that you have stuff with, that has upset you, hurt you, I invite you to go directly to that person with love in your heart and an intention to heal. Because what we can do, we can practice in spiritual community how we get to be outside these doors. Right? We have spiritual teachings that ground us in the truth. We are divine beings, and our humanity comes up sometimes and sucks on our face like an alien. That's a very nice visual, I'm sure. But truly, it's a beautiful thing to grow and expand as a result of relationship, folks. That's the ultimate purpose of community. Are we allowing it? Are we allowing ourselves to be touched and blessed by the beauty and the heart and the experiences and the opportunities just in the confines that are available to us in this community? Are we allowing ourselves to be expanded by community? Oh, it's so beautiful when we do. Because I believe at its very, very best, community is unconditionally accepting. That's at its best. Accepting us for all that we are. And the thing is, though, I think that self-acceptance is one of our biggest learning curves on the spiritual journey. We're so dadgum hard on ourselves. We're not very gentle or merciful with ourselves. And sometimes we use these teachings to beat ourselves up as well. Well, I should be more love and light. So Wayne Muller says this, and I love this. The merciful practice of acceptance begins with the assumption that we were never broken, never defective. By surrendering into a deep acceptance of our own nature, rather than tearing apart who we are, we actually make room for genuine, rich, merciful, playful growth and change. If we feel our fundamental strength, creativity, and wisdom, then change is not frightening at all. Things simply fall away when they are ready, making room for the rich harvest underneath. And there's a story that he told that I thought was so beautiful. There was a priest named Father Jerry who was a friend of Wayne Muller's. And Wayne Muller is from New Mexico. And Father Jerry worked his entire life with those living in poverty in New Mexico. And one day, Father Jerry was visiting a man with Alzheimer's. And the man was in an advanced stage with severe loss of mental capacity. And for the past 5 years, the man had been declining steadily. And his wife of many years was his caretaker, and he no longer recognized her. And so Father Jerry goes to visit to give him the final sacraments and finds the man is in a coma. But when Father Jerry identifies himself at the man's bedside, what he notices is that the man has a tear that's just rolling down his cheek. And it just touched Father Jerry deeply because he realized in that moment that even from the depth of a coma, that there was still an inherent connection happening. That there was an intimate exchange happening between them. And what, to Wayne Muller, it spoke to that there's still a light in us that never dies. It's eternal and it lives in us always, regardless of circumstances. So as we feel our fundamental strength and creativity and wisdom through the power of authentic connection, then change, even death, isn't frightening. Things can simply fall away when they're ready, making room for the rich harvest of growth and expansion within it all. And I'm reminded here at Unity of Gaithersburg when we go through change, when someone leaves, like, Pauline just stepped down from Youth and Family, and we launched Lynn May, one of our longtime members, to go to Florida. I love that because what we're doing is that same thing, is that we're seeing the light in them and we're launching them in love. I love how community launches people in love into their next grand adventure. And yes, we have our human experience because we're going to miss them and we're going to, whatever our experience is. But as a community, we trust and we know that all is truly flowing in an order and a perfection, and we can launch them unconditionally in love. Love that. So, okay, this week, let's take a look at the communities of which we're a part. And what had us say yes to being a part of it? And are you allowing yourself to belong? If not, what keeps you from allowing yourself to be seen and to trust and to truly connect authentically? How can you allow community to support you in knowing who you truly are? And of course, my prayer as the minister here at this community is that when you walk in the doors of this community, you always can feel authentically that you are loved and accepted for who you are. So let's affirm together. I am grateful that I participate in communities where I can heal, grow, and know more fully my true nature. Amen.